Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WODcast podcast. I'm your host, Eddie Eft. Every single week, I bring you a podcast that is based on strength conditioning, fitness, health, nutrition, well-being, things like that. A lot of CrossFit talk. I would say this is based in CrossFit, has been since the beginning. This week is no stranger to CrossFit. Our guest this week is an OG of CrossFit. You guys might know this guy. Well, you probably all know him. Pat Sherwood. Really good guy. Good dude. He's been around forever in the business. Since I think 2005, he told me during the interview. It's a long time. This is a young sport. Not only has he been a competitor of the games, he's been a commentator. He's an affiliate owner. He was on the CERT staff. He's pretty much had every job there is in CrossFit. He's a former Navy SEAL. The guy's just an all-around amazing dude. He's married to a CrossFit Games competitor. And we had a great conversation. Another one of those guys that I feel like I could have talked to I could have made it a 7-part series. So I like those. I like those when it goes fast, when I look at the clock and I realize that we've already gone through an hour and I have so many questions I want to ask, but I try not to take too much of their time. I know some of you like really long episodes. I wish I could do them really long. Sometimes though, I'll have a guest and I'm like, I can't wait for it to be over. This was not one of those times. I could have gone on forever. So fun episode. If you're enjoying the show, liking what I do, the best way to support is going to Patreon. If you got a few extra bucks, just donate $5 a month. I know that's like having a subscription to Apple TV or whatever, but you might do that. Like I subscribe to Philo or something just so I can get Yellowstone. And that's like $25 a month. I mean, this is $5 a month and you get, not only do you get all these episodes that I work so diligently to put out every week for you, but you get an opportunity to win a Maya Pucks and a leopard paw that we get donated from Maya Pucks and leopard paw. If you don't know what these are by now, you're crazy because you haven't listened to enough episodes. Maya Pucks is an electronic muscle stimulator. I can honestly tell you that I hurt my back this week doing deadlifts. I don't know if it was deadlifts or dealing with my kids or whatever, but hurt my back really badly. And really badly. Like I thought I herniated a disc. And I don't know what my protocol would have been otherwise, but I slapped the big pad on my back and let this electronic muscle stimulator go to work. Now, I don't know if I was using the active recovery mode. I don't know if it was just a painkiller and my body just needed to repair itself, but I also put on some CBD oil. CBD MD is the one I'm using. And I thought this was going to be like 6 months, 6 weeks at least. And I'm pretty much back to normal. I don't know what did it, but I know it did it. So it's either the Maya Pucks or the CBD oil. And I know that the Maya Pucks works all the time. It's clinically proven to work. Same with the CBD oil. There's clinical proof now. And you need to, if you're an active person working on your fitness, you will get injured. It's natural to get injured. If you're going to push in any direction, do sports, do anything, it's pretty hard to avoid injury. And when you do get injured, these things help out. So get one. And the best way to get one is donate $5 to the show. You're entered into a drawing. This week, our winner is Aaron Jepson. Aaron Jepson. Send us an email at wodcastpodcast@yahoo.com, and we will have Troy over there at Maya Pucks and Leopard Paw send you over one of each of those. It's about $450 worth of gear that you're getting for a $5 a month donation. Now, I ask you to please stick around. Don't be one of these guys that jumps in and jumps right out. That's a dick move. So, just join, support. And if you don't have the money to support, all you'd have to do is go to iTunes, write a little review, give us a little 5-star. It's great. That helps the show a ton. You'd be surprised. It helps us in the algorithm. The way iTunes works is it's not how many people listen, it's how many people listen on the first day. That episode, it's got to be the newest episode, and how many people comment and review. That actually helps. And then they post me on the front page of Health and Fitness. People see it and more people come and listen to the show. So that's how you can help out the show. And that's why I ask you to do that. Other than that, you can always come see me live. Live, I perform constantly all over the world. This week, I'm in Reno, Nevada at the Silver Legacy Casino. Those shows are at the Laugh Factory. It's a good time. Come out. It's a good club. Shows can get really fun. I'm there every night this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Next week, I'm doing a benefit show at Lake Tahoe at Harvey's Casino. That's Friday night. And then Saturday night, I am in Bozeman, Montana. Some theater there. You can find it all at eddyift.com. eddyift.com. All my tickets are available. The following week, I believe I'm in Alaska. I go to Alaska and Wasilla and Anchorage. And then if you're a CrossFitter in Alaska, please put the word out to your club. Anywhere. If you ever see that I'm performing in your town and you are a CrossFitter, put out a word. But like, go on your Facebook page of your gym and say, hey guys, Eddie If's coming to town, and message me and I'll try to get you free tickets or at least discount tickets or something. I like to have my listeners, people that are involved, people that like the show, and then rope people in to start listening to the show. They like my comedy and they'll come, this is the way it works. So please support in that way. I've had people do it. It's great. I really, really appreciate it. We chug protein shakes after the show. I know you got to get up early, so I let you leave. No hard partying here. You got 3 workouts to do the next day. Anyway, all my dates. I got Pittsburgh coming up the 23rd and 26th of December. Then I head to New Year's Eve. Around that whole week, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I think there's a club coming out. I think there's a gym. CrossFit Incendia. I think those guys are all coming out. Then I head to, a whole bunch of places. I've got Vancouver. I've got Chicago. I've got Boston. I've got January 22nd. I have my big date at the Irvine Improv. Again, I said I will give you free tickets to come to that. If you are a WODcast listener, send me an email, wodcastpodcast@yahoo.com. And I will get you free tickets to come see my taping at the Irvine Improv. All you have to do is message me. I put you on the list. You show up. Tickets are at the door. That's 1,000 seats that I got to sell. So I'm giving away 100 tickets. And I've already given away probably 30 of those. So I'm down to about 70 tickets. So message me and you will get free tickets to that show. That's wodcastpodcast@yahoo.com. You can always hit me up on my Instagram. You can always hit me up on Twitter, even though I don't like it. TikTok. I don't like that either. I'm just pretty much Instagram. So with that, I think we're just going to get the show rolling. Are you guys ready for a great show? I love this conversation. It was so easy. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Pat Sherwood. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I apologize. My kids have me deathly ill, and so I'm gonna have a cough drop in the whole time. And when I have to blow my nose in a loud, obnoxious manner, I will hit the mute button.
Oh, it's okay. I have kids too, so I know about the immunity. They ruin you.
Just goes around the household over and over and over again. It just never stops.
It was during COVID though. It was pretty cool. Like during the lockdown phase, it was like I didn't know what sickness was anymore.
Right.
Because we were like in an incubator. The kids weren't around other kids. There was no sickness. And I was like, Are we ever going to get sick again?
I was going to say, now everyone's, who knows? I'm certainly not a scientist. I don't know if our immune systems are weak and now we're going to get sick all the time.
I'm a little scared of that. It was weird. I was listening to somebody talk about like the, how long your immunity lasts after like the rhinovirus, which is the common cold. And it's I think they said something like 18 months. Because I always used to wonder, how come you don't get a cold and then just get another cold?
Oh, interesting.
And so the rhinovirus lasts about 18 months. That's why, like, so COVID and everybody's saying natural immunity. Well, I have natural immunity. Well, we don't know. We don't know how long. I got immunized for measles as a kid. And then when my kid was born, they wouldn't let me in the hospital unless I had a measles vaccine. I'm like, yeah, I got that as a kid. And they were like, when were you born?
Right.
I said the 70s. And they went, go get tested. So I went and got tested, and they were like, you're not immunized.
Well, I got to say, having a cold doesn't sound anywhere near as cool as saying that you have the rhinovirus.
Yeah, I know. And
that sounds like a legitimate reason to stay home from work.
The worst one, I think, is the norovirus, which is the shit puke one.
That ran through the household as well, whenever that was. I don't even know how many years ago it was, but that was horrific.
That's the cruise ship one. When
yes, it was. Oh, that was bad news as well. Just so many wonderful things that happen in humanity,
When that hits a cruise ship, it takes out the whole ship. It's I saw a graph once. They showed like basically how infectious a disease is and how deadly it is. And something like rhinovirus or norovirus is like the most contagious, most infectious. However, it doesn't kill you. It's whereas something like Ebola is actually not that contagious, but it will kill you. And Ebola, I thought Ebola you get, like if you see someone with Ebola, you get it. But it's basically like if you're attending to them in their sickest phase at the end of then you're going to get it. And that's when
you've got to increase. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Well,
so this showed the graph, like, and it was like where it is on the X and Y axis, and norovirus was like the most contagious.
Oh,
my son, when he
horrific.
was like 6 months old, or not even a year, got it on the way home for Christmas, picked it up somewhere and gave it to my entire extended family. And everyone, it was like that episode of The Family Guy where they're all puking.
Right.
The whole family's like, bleh, bleh. Like you would just hear people in other rooms and they call my son to this day patient zero.
That's fair. How old is your son now?
2.5.
2.5. Is that your only kid?
No, we have two.
Two. How old's the other one?
I have a 6-year-old and a 2.5-year-old.
6-year-old.
7. She's gonna be 7 in a few weeks. What about you?
A full life.
What about you? What do you got?
10-year-old boy, 12-year-old boy, and a 5-month-old baby girl.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Wow.
So we're busy, and I'm hoping with everything that I have that she does not get what I have right now, or it's going to be. Babies are challenging enough, let alone a sick baby that can't communicate, can't breathe. Yeah. So fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I also think kids, though, like they just shrug it off.
They're far more resilient than adults, that's for sure. Our youngest son fell off some monkey bars a couple of years ago, broke his arm like significantly, like 3 screws to put it back together, like sheared the arm off, and obviously like cried a little bit, but was sitting there just holding his arm, which was swollen. Like you knew immediately something is horrifically wrong right now. And he took it in a way that no adult ever would. And then when he got home, with most adults are like, well, try to wean yourself off this highly addictive pain medication we're going to give you. Took the pain meds for like 1 day, and then he's like, nah, I'm good. It's like an adult would be, I mean,
what yeah, I know they say cry like a baby. They should say cry like an adult, because
no doubt about it. Maybe they just don't know, but I was like, man, you're a little trooper. Good on you.
That term's wrong, and sleep like a baby's wrong, because babies don't sleep. So they should say like you slept like a homeless person. That should be the term. And your son, though, maybe he has like you were a Navy SEAL, so like maybe he has like your genetics, like you're a freak and we're able to handle and endure pain.
Potentially could be. We've got a bizarre household dynamic, but of the 2 boys, I'm their stepdad, and the girl, she's my biological. So we got all kinds of stuff going on in the household, all kinds of.
So you're an American family.
100%, 100%. Trying to make it happen to to the best of our ability, not mess anything up too much. That's the goal.
I'm curious, what painkiller did they give your son?
Oh man. For the life of me, I'd be lying to you if I told you I remember what it was, but I mean, it was something substantial. I mean,
Yeah.
because he got surgery and plates and screws drilled in there.
Yeah.
And like I said, 24 hours later, he was just like, nah, I'm good. Yeah, it hurts a little bit, but that's okay. I was like, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's not okay in my world.
Yeah. I had surgery and plates and screws in my ankle. I forget how long I took it. I remember the first pain pill. I went back to see the doctor in like a week and he's like, how's it going? I'm like, I'm in massive pain. And he was like,
Right.
all right, let me step it up. So he gave me another drug, which was Oxy. And I don't know the oxycodone, Oxycontin, which one it
Sure.
was. All I know is it was
One of the oxys.
it was amazing. And I
Right.
see why people are addicted to it
It works.
because I had to throw it out because
Mhm.
I was like, I want to take this every day, all day. It just the euphoria you feel, and I don't want to. I don't want to be doing a sales pitch for heroin right now, but I'm sitting there
Right.
wondering why, as a society, we haven't figured out how to make a drug like that that has no side effects.
I'm sure somebody is working hard on that right now because if there's a boatload of money to be made, somebody is trying to crack the code on it. I guarantee it. But yeah,
But
we'll see. There'll be
but
some interesting changes.
but not just a boatload of money. Like it's euphoria. And my theory is like if we could feel that without any detrimental effects, like if you're not going to have your liver's going to get hurt or your life's going to fall apart or whatever, if you can
Right.
functionally go through life without any side effects and feel euphoria, why not?
Whew, I mean, that could be an interesting question, right? Without putting too much thought into it, of is there any negative effects to just intentional detachment from the real world? And I don't know if that would mean that you don't have to deal with adversity because largely most change, most positive change comes from some sort of bad time or
Sure.
adversity or discomfort or pain. And if it would wipe all that free, it could be interesting. It could be and then you'd probably have people that would not want to then spend their time in the real world. Humanity, the production level of humanity would probably just plummet into the toilet. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
want to go to work. I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit here and just be in euphoria all day long.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so much to it. There's so much to that's like a huge philosophical question because you look at all the things we've done to simplify life that we've moved away from, like, say, a paleo lifestyle. And we've done that and we've created this society of big fat razor, scooter driving, Cheeto eating people who just are looking for comfort. And you look at all the detrimental effects of that. I listen to the Huberman podcast. Do you ever listen to him at all?
No, I haven't heard of that.
He's this guy. He was he's a Stanford researcher, and he's been on Rogan a few times, and I think his expertise is in ophthalmology, but he's like, as a hobbyist, he's very into like neuroscience and physical fitness and all this stuff. And he did a whole episode on dopamine and basically like what's going on in your brain when you take stimulants and cocaine and caffeine and all these things about the dopamine addiction and dopamine and the release of it and how we basically get this like buzz and there's always a come down from a buzz. Like,
Sure. Oh yeah.
And the problem is if you keep taking the buzz, then the buzz gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then the come down is harder and harder and harder. And so I guess that's what would happen. But I mean, with how much they're studying the human brain, I'm like, come on, let's give me that euphoric feeling that I don't have any detrimental effects from it.
Yeah.
I want it.
And getting back to like the kids thing, that's one of the things of discomfort and adversity and actually not avoiding it, but in some odd way running headlong into it that I think about with our kids, because we're very lucky. Like, you always want your kids to grow up better than you did. And so currently that's happening. Like, my kids live a wonderful lifestyle with creature comforts that would have been science fiction in the house that I grew up in,
Yeah.
and you just somehow want to give your kids or any human being the niceties, the comfort. You don't want anyone to have to needlessly suffer, right? I mean, that
Right.
nobody wants to just needlessly suffer, but then you somehow want to instill upon them the ability to just grind and
Yeah.
to work
Yeah.
hard and to dig in. And that's an interesting tightrope to walk of like to try to avoid discomfort, live in utopia, but
Yeah.
then somehow when the chips are down, you can just bring it and grind like no other. And
Because
it's an interesting topic.
you can make their life as easy as possible, but you don't know when they're going to get hit with something that they're going to need the adversity. They're going to need to be able to handle it. And
I remember listening to a Kevin Hart interview. Maybe it was on Joe Rogan or something else, but he said like that was one of his biggest concerns. He's like, because he grew up poor and that drive fired him up to do stuff. He's like, my kids don't have that, which is great on one degree.
Yeah.
But that drive, you can't teach that if you don't really want or need to get yourself out of a situation because the situation you're in is great. It's tough to have that fire in the gut.
Well, I worry about that. I live in Malibu, and I watch all the kids growing up here, and I have to tell my kids constantly, like, this isn't real. I heard somebody the other day say,
correct,
this is where people come to retire, and when kids grow up here, they grow up retired.
Right.
And then they get sent out into the real world, and they're like, why would you send me here? I just want to go home. And so the kids want to come back here because they had the best, easiest life ever. And the real world sucks compared to this. And so they come back to this, and then you can't get them to leave, and you can't get them to do anything. And I'll be honest, I do know a lot of guys that grew up here with horrible, horrible drug problems because of that. Yeah, because they're like chasing that, like, you know, there are a lot of surf bums, a lot of dudes that are just like, well, why? Why should I go get a job when all you did was work hard so that you could surf all day long? And it's like, well, I heard Louis C.K. say at one time, Louis would take a driver, would drive him a Mercedes every day to work. And his daughter would say, give me a ride. And he'd be like, no, walk to the bus. And his daughter was like,
there's something to that.
She was like, why do you get to go in the Mercedes with the driver? And he's like, because I worked for it. You haven't earned it yet.
There's something to that. So you're in Malibu. That is, I've been to Malibu a handful of times, and it certainly is a phenomenally gorgeous, but also very interesting place that if you didn't leave, you could get a very warped, potentially in a good way, a warped idea of just what everyday life is like, everyday weather is like, what's the normal car that somebody drives around. It's and you're also you said you're a comedian. Is that how you pay your bills? You full-time comedian?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
My wife doesn't think so.
I mean, I always thought, honestly, that being a comedian would be an incredibly challenging occupation to just do on the side, let alone to pay your bills with it, to have to come up with material from whatever observations that you make, and then to somehow you get on stage. And I would assume that you only have a relatively limited amount of time to get the audience on your side. Or to get them enjoying what you're doing, or you've maybe lost them and it's tough to recover. It seems like a very challenging occupation.
It's funny. I just had this conversation with my wife last night because I was talking about ADHD. We were watching, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Alpinist. Have you seen this yet?
My buddy mentioned it to me. Haven't seen it yet.
A neighbor of mine produced it, and a buddy, Ben Bryan, and it is... He worked on, Ben's made the Dawn Wall and a couple other films that are incredible. Yeah. This one, it makes Free Solo even look like, wow, this guy takes it to another level, because not only does he rock climb, he ice climbs.
Yeah.
And so he's switching over the mountains he's climbing. He's switching from rock to ice to snow. And so he's switching shoes all the time. And when even Alex Honnold, is that his name, or Honnold, talks about him, he's like, yeah, I've got like a film crew and a whole bunch of people watching. He goes, this guy just goes off and goes solo for like a month and just comes back, and you don't even know what he's done. And then you'll find out later he's climbed all these crazy mountains. And but the guy was an ADHD kid, but he has this extreme focus because he's climbing without ropes. And one, he's
Sure.
climbing these pitches that are like 3 times the size of El Capitan.
Right.
One wrong move and it's over. So he has to
Mm-hmm.
be so precise for like, I don't know how many times he moves his pickaxe or moves his crampon, and one little mistake and it's over. And so the focus is so intense. And listening to Huberman talk about ADHD, he was saying that people with ADHD actually have this incredible focus. And I think that's what stand-up comedy is for me, where it's the only time I'm able to really, really lock in.
Hmm.
And in my mind, there's 100 things going on at once while I'm telling a joke. I know if someone's ordering a drink. I know if the temperature's wrong. I know if someone's going to cough, I need to like get louder. I know this joke didn't work last show, so maybe don't do it this show because these people might be from Dallas and they have a different sense
Mm-hmm.
of humor than people from Florida, or maybe I need to go harder on the and just so many things are coming into play that I think I always joke that comedians aren't talented, we're disabled, and that it's like a disability. And I was lucky enough to be able to like harness my disability rather than do
Where
something.
do you where do you come up with your stuff? I mean, you literally just got a notepad on your phone and you get ideas, or is it?
Um, it all started. It's funny you're interviewing me now.
I'm fascinated by it.
It all started with like talking to girls in bars, and I would like to like entertain them and make them laugh because I always felt like girls like the funny guy. So I would just like say random funny things, or if I had a funny idea, and then I would like realize, oh, that worked. I'm going to try that again. And then I saw comedians, and I went to New York and saw a bunch of comedians perform at the Comedy Cellar, and I was like mesmerized. And this was in college. And then I went to Caroline's and saw them perform again, and I was like, oh, they're doing the same shit. I'm like, I can do that. Like
Right.
if it was
It's not
off
new every time.
I thought they were improv. I'm like, these guys are geniuses. Like the fact that their
Mm-hmm.
mind works like that. Then once I saw that it was an act, I was like, oh, okay, well, I can come up with all those funny thoughts. So Chris Rock gave me advice once. He said, think about what you want to write about, then write about it, rather than like let the jokes come to you. So usually every year I write a whole new hour, and I'll come up thematically with what I'm going for. Like, this is going to be my arc. And so I try to find things that happen within there. And sometimes jokes will just be too funny, and I'll be like, I got to throw this joke in. But usually it gets pushed out of the hour. I mean, I'll do it sometimes, but it gets pushed out because it
An
doesn't fit.
hour is a good chunk of time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, coming into this year, I started touring in September, and I thought I had a ton written over COVID. Once I started performing, I'm like, I got 5 minutes. like,
Oh,
like this
geez.
shit sucks because I wasn't working it. So I just started throwing out jokes, or I'd see that every comedian had the same thoughts during COVID. So I was like, oh, I need to bring my own perspective into it. So, so then I started writing. And now I'm shooting my special January 22nd, and I have about an hour and a half, and I'm starting to like edit down. I'm starting to like throw out a half hour of it and go which is the best. And it sucks. It's like, the editing process is the hardest part because you got to throw out stuff you love, and you're like, that's a good joke, but it just doesn't fit.
And I'm sure there's some nuances, like you alluded to anyway. But in general, does most stuff work on most crowds, or like you're saying, hey, I'm in Dallas this weekend, this has to get massaged?
Yeah. Well, I can do jokes in different ways. Like I can make a joke that seems liberal, work for conservatives, and vice versa. And I'm a very middle of the road kind of guy as it is anyways. Like I look at both. Anybody that's very political, I look at like, you're an idiot. Like,
But don't you know one side has all the answers,
yeah,
and the other
yeah,
one is
exactly.
all
Yeah,
the other one, it's their fault.
they're so right all the time. So I love to make fun of both. Every once in a while, someone can't handle it. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy like run out of my show in Wilmington, North Carolina. Like not run out, he like came up and got in my face. He's like, "You're wrong about January 6th." And I was like, you didn't hear
Have a
me.
good night, sir.
No, I kind of got into it a little bit with him. And But I was like, you didn't hear my jokes of me like terrorizing Biden, but they're not able to hear that. All he heard
Right.
was me making fun of Trump, and it was like, that's his team, that's his team,
Mm-hmm.
that's his tribe, and you are wrong. And
Sure.
so I run the risk of alienating everybody when I'm trying.
Uh-huh.
Some people say I do it well, but I don't. Sometimes I feel like I turn the whole crowd off there because everybody's so tribal. But I think more and more the public is starting to realize that it's all WWE and all these
I hope
politicians are just
so.
bozos,
I
and like
hope
you
so. I
can't pay
mean,
attention to any of them. And I want to talk to you guys right now about sleep. Um, I don't know if you listened to the Rob Wolf episode. Rob said sleep's more important than diet and exercise. I'm starting to agree with that. I never realized how important it was. I never took it seriously, and now it is so important in my life just because how much I've read, how much I've figured out, how much I realized why I didn't perform adequately, and it had so much to do with sleep. And if you're like me, I think it's about 30% of America struggles with sleep, and one of the biggest problems is temperature. Okay, the temperature of your bed. Did you ever put your hands and feet out of your bed? That's to cool you down because you get too hot. You get all sweaty. I am one of these people. I go to bed, I want to be really warm, but then I need to cool down. And then when I wake up, I want to be warm again. How do you do that? It sounds impossible, right? Like, how can you program your bed to do? Well, you can. Okay. Now, thanks to 8 Sleep, I fall asleep faster than I ever have. I can check it on my phone. There's an app with 8 Sleep that tells me when I fall asleep, when I wake up, how I slept, takes my heart rate variability, all that stuff that like a Whoop does. And it's because they've got this thing called the Pod Pro Cover by 8 Sleep. It's the most advanced solution on the market for thermoregulation. And it pairs dynamic cooling and heating with biometric tracking. You can add the cover to any mattress. I added it to a Sleep 8 mattress, which I love, which is just one of those, like, I can't explain this mattress. It's just perfect. And then to put this on top of it, I can sleep as cool as 55 degrees or as hot as 110 degrees. And the temperature of the cover will adjust each side of the bed. So like my wife sleeps not as hot as I do in the middle of the night and then not as hot in the morning. So she's on her side of the bed and I'm on my side, and we have 2 different things going on. And it's great. And it then keeps track of her and keeps track of me. And look, 8 Sleep users fall asleep 32% faster. Their sleep interruption is reduced by 40%. And you just get overall more restful sleep. You get a sleep score in the morning. You wake up and you go, oh, wow. Like I was 67% less. What did I do wrong? Oh, I went to bed at 3 a.m. No wonder. And woke up at, but then as you start sleeping longer hours, you start to see when you get this like really good sleep. And as you sleep in this bed, it gets better and better and better. We have had this bed now for about 10 days. And I don't think I've got to go away this week, and I'm sad. I'm sad that I'm leaving this mattress. I was telling a neighbor about it in the street. I think I sold them on it because I was like, this is the greatest thing in the whole world. You've got to try this bed. It's unbelievable. It's so popular that it's garnered attention from CEOs, high performers, top CrossFit athletes. That's where I heard about it first. 2021, fittest man in the world, Justin Medeiros, was telling me all about it. That's when I was like, I got to get involved. I got to get one of these. So they're all sleeping better with 8 Sleep, and it's making the most of their workouts and recovery. All right, listen, I want you to get one of these. I want your life to change like mine has. Go to 8sleep.com/WODcast. Check out the Pod Pro cover, and you're going to save $150 at checkout. That's just the cover that you put on. That's the one that can warm it. You can put that on any mattress. Go to 8sleep.com/WODcast. It's the Pod Pro cover. They're going to give you $150 off. You can also... I think you can go buy the mattress there too. Yeah, you can buy the mattress if you want. You might as well get the mattress. Get the mattress and get the Pod Pro cover. But like I said, The deal is you're going to get $150 at checkout with the Pod Pro cover. Go to 8sleep. That's EIGHT sleep SLEEP.com/WODcast. 8sleep.com/WODcast. Somebody just told me, I was talking to a guy who was a former guest on the show. He's like, have you seen the commercial with Dan Crenshaw jumping out of a plane? And I'm like, no. It's just the more of a character you are, the better chance you're going to get elected these days.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, whether, again, I think no matter what side you're on, whether it's debate or promises to the public or whatever it is, I think it's just largely theater.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
It's a show. And if you can captivate the audience's attention, they're like, okay.
And it sucks because I was hearing about a bunch of these people. They were naming a bunch of politicians that are characters right now. And they're like, look at the legislation that they've passed. It's like zero because they're out performing and they're out just showboating, like, you know, trying to get in the news every day. And it's, you know, you see it in every walk of life. CrossFit, you've seen it, you know, all the people that usually were the big social media people weren't necessarily the best athletes.
Yeah, the world's an interesting place, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail it, but the comedy thing is just, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I've been working on a TV show where I take people from really dangerous aspects of life that I have fears of, and I have them do comedy, and I do what they do. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, it all started with me going to surf Jaws with Albie Layer, and Albie's one of the best big wave surfers in the world, and he calls me a pussy all the time. And I was like, well, let's see you do stand up. And he was like, no way, I'd kill myself. And he's like, I couldn't do it.
The public speaking, man.
Yeah. Seinfeld has an awesome joke about it. He goes, man's greatest fear is speaking in public. Number 2 is death.
Right.
Which means that the guy giving the eulogy at the funeral would rather be getting eulogized.
Yep. I just, he's all those just got uploaded on Netflix. So I'm gonna just dive into those from day one again.
Yeah. The old Seinfelds are great. I mean, I'm amazed at how well people in general speak though. When I go, you know, like anything, like look at a CrossFit seminar or something, and I just watch everybody do really well. And I was like, I thought this is just like, we were the only people that could do it, you know, like I've always had this natural ability to speak in public, and I'm watching, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, can everybody do this well? Like, it seems like everybody's good. Everybody can make people laugh. Everybody can, you know, I would think like a lot of times CrossFit trainers, you know, just jockish kind of weightlifting guys. And all of a sudden they're speaking so, you know, so well.
Sure.
And yeah.
There's some chameleons in there that if you judged a book by its cover,
yep,
it catch you wildly off guard. I mean, one of the ones that jumps to my head, even to this day, is, you know, Adrian Bosman, very well known in the community. But when I first met Adrian, now he's an older fellow, I'd say probably in his mid-30s now. But when I first met him, I bet he was like 24, you know, punk from like Canada, like blue hair. Like, you know, he was like, look, you know, if you just look at him, just disheveled, you're like, and then he would start speaking. And you're like, this guy is so sharp and articulate. I'm caught off guard and just stunned. You know, and there's we have folks like that walk in with like 2 sleeves of skull tattoos. And all of a sudden they start talking. You're like, oh, what are you, like a neuroscientist?
Yeah.
What's happening? You know?
That's how I feel.
Yeah, it definitely, you know, but I think a large part of that is, and especially like the level 1 seminars or whatnot, I mean, you are working with a live audience. It's not comedy, but you are working with a live audience, and you can tell when you got them and when you don't got them.
Yep.
You know, you can tell when they're with you and not with you, and when you get them back, when you lost them, and, you know, whatever it happens to be. And if you want to do that well, you either have to be naturally gifted, or you should work on your craft. You know,
sure.
Because you are presenting material, you know, and if you present it, you could present it in just a dry, monotonous manner, and you would actually have presented the material. But if you want people to enjoy sitting in those seats all day long for 2 days, you got to have some presence and attitude.
Yeah. It's funny, like, because we could compare the two well. Like when when I go on stage, there's a lot of tricks after I've been doing it 25 years. So there are a lot of tricks that you learn just through experience, you know, the 10,000 hours or whatever. I think I've put them in. And I tell when younger comedians ask for advice, I always say, you only have a few seconds to connect. And when you first get up there, and they're judging you right away. And if you don't connect right away, good luck. Like it's an uphill battle the whole time then. They want to trust you, and they want to know that they're in your hands. So you better get them. And I always say there's a connection. Like if you act weird or odd or different, or, you know, you're going to throw them a little bit. They want to feel comfortable. So sometimes just like looking someone in the eye and just having an exchange like, hey, how are you? Like as a stand-up comedian, I can walk on stage, look at someone in the front row and go, hey, how you doing? And the guy's like, good. And I'm like, good. Can you now sit there? Cause I got to do a show, you know, and the audience would be like, wow, like that was, you know, but it's like, you're in charge, you're confident, you've got it. And I can see like, it all goes back to like being a teacher. I can't believe how many teachers sucked growing up at like keeping the attention of a class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They just present the material. I always just tell people that not all the time, and it's an oversimplification, but you know, the audience is a reflection of however you're presenting yourself. So if you walk up there and you're somber and melancholy, the audience ain't going to be fired up. Like it just doesn't work that way. You know, if you go up there and you're confident, holding your head high, you're using your voice well, you're making eye contact, you're smiling, you're having a good time, you have a greater chance of the audience paying attention, having a good time, and all that stuff, you know. So yeah, there's some interesting stuff to just presenting material or presenting to live audiences that I guess it's not for everybody, but I think it's fascinating.
Did you were what, 7 years in the military?
Yeah, I think right at about 7 years.
Did you acquire any of those skills from the military?
No, not really. Leadership stuff, yes. Like management stuff, yes, but not the public speaking that would serve me well out in the civilian world. You know, the public speaking in the military is, you know, you've signed your life on the dotted line. It doesn't matter if they want to listen to you. They are legally obligated to listen to you. You know, you have a captive audience, literally. And so most people just bark out orders or tell people what has to get done and then just walk away. And, you know, that's, you have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not, I'm going to really try to bring the audience into me so they connect with me, you know?
Yeah.
So
that came after.
And that's one of the things, to some degree, not all the time, that might shoot some veterans in the foot when they get out into the civilian world, if they are going to be doing something forward facing, or even being like a trainer at a gym, you know, forward facing to your class every day. If, and not all military units are the same, but if they were steeped in the tradition of just barking orders, being super edgy, being super short with people, and really having zero empathy. I know that some people do want like a drill sergeant kind of a feel in class, but I don't think most people want that. And I don't think it will serve them well in the long run. So for some veterans, not all, there has to be either an adjustment period, or hopefully somebody who's already been there says, hey, just so you know, I don't know how you think that you're coming off.
Yeah.
But you're coming off this way. And I think that's why every day the 5 p.m. class has less people in it, you know, or whatever it happens to be.
But as far as leadership, the skills you learned in leadership, because I have zero leadership skills. I've run like, you know, I've had podcasts where I have a lot of employees and stuff like that. That's pretty much, or tours where I bring openers and stuff. And I've written on a few shows where I was producing and had to like organize the writers. And I found it incredibly difficult, and that I might have thought I had leadership skills, but I didn't at all. And I always wonder about the military. Do they teach you leadership, or is it just the experience you get it?
There's some leadership schools, I think, of varying degrees of efficacy, quite frankly, but a lot of it's just on the job training. Or if you're lucky, you know, like in my former community, if you're lucky, like as a new guy, you're in a terrible position as a new guy. As you don't know how much you know about the military, but you've got officers and enlisted, and the officers are in charge, and the enlisted have to follow the officers. And so you could have an enlisted guy that's been in 15 years,
Yeah.
an officer, it's day one, and he's in charge day one, even though he's in charge of somebody who's been doing the job for 15 years. So it's an interesting environment to walk into. And I walked in as one of the officers, so I had to be in charge of all these
Yeah.
guys who've been doing it forever and ever and ever. It's a profoundly intimidating environment to be in. And what is the best case scenario is if you have a senior ranking enlisted dude who kind of takes you under their wing, as a new officer and says, hey, look, I know you're the new officer, all the enlisted guys, you guys got to interact, and here's what works, here's what doesn't work. And so, like so many other things in life, ideally, if you're lucky, you get yourself a mentor or somebody that kind of helps guide you. And I was lucky enough to have a couple good older chiefs in the Navy that I owe a lot to, quite frankly.
Were you Little Creek or were you Coronado?
Little Creek, yep,
okay.
East Coast.
So Zach Forrest.
Zach Forrest, yep, and I think also Mr. Chris Smith.
Oh yeah, Chris, great guy. What a wonderful guy.
And exactly what I knew was going to happen happened when I mentioned his name. Smiled and laughed. He's got it. Whatever, like some people just have it, that they're simply saying their name makes your day a little brighter.
I'm jealous. I'm jealous of people like that. I'm jealous of people that are going to leave that mark on life. Because it's just, I think it's so innate, and you can try to develop it, but then you're a fake. It's just they are that.
Got it.
My father-in-law just passed away, and at his funeral, I just watched all these people like a mess, because he had such an impact on so many people, so profound, that a little bit of selfishness where I was like, wow, I am not doing anything like this. This guy brought so much to the world, and I wish I could contribute to the world like he did. And like, everyone's going to go, what an amazing guy. What a great guy. There won't be, sure, somewhere there's someone that doesn't like him, probably one,
sure, right.
But to not have that, I just,
you could just bottle that. Like, I don't know what it is. You just, if you were in a bad mood, you're in a good mood after talking to him, and he's got that ability. Maybe he's silver-tongued or something. Like, you feel like you could send him in as like a hostage negotiator or something, because somehow the terrorists would like him. Like, this Chris guy's a nice guy, like, let's all just get along.
Obviously the Navy's a huge place, and even though you were in the same, did you run across him at all when you were in?
No, never saw.
Were you same?
Chris, never saw Zach.
Same. Oh, not even same years or anything.
No, and I think Chris and I were probably in around the same time, but our paths just never crossed.
Yeah, I guess people don't understand, because they see the movies and stuff, how big it is, like how big of an operation it is.
Big operation. There's not a lot of SEALs, but everybody
is on their own.
To some degree, you're just so compartmentalized in your, you don't have a lot of balance in your life in that occupation.
Right.
That's what you do all the time. So you're just immersed in your stuff. And he was at a different team than I was. And back then things were done differently. So different teams had different geographical responsibilities in the world. So he was training for and deploying to and occupied with an entirely different area of the world than I was. He was in a different building, and so it's like, even though they're only 400 yards away in the compound, you might never see him.
Where were you? What team and where were you located?
Team 4, and we were all Central and South America.
Oh, okay. Do you speak Spanish?
I speak enough to get in trouble. I spoke enough to get in trouble back in the day.
Yeah.
And I love Spanish. It's a hobby that sadly I have let slide, as everything else in life.
Yeah, kids will do that.
Demanded more time. I would love to get back into it one day. I was never fluent. I think people throw that term around way too easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I wouldn't mind if you dropped me off in Colombia. Like, I could get a meal, get a taxi, get a room. Like, I'd be okay with that. But I was not fluent. But I was good enough.
Yeah. So have you gotten to travel and see a lot of South America?
Yeah, I love Central and South America. It's probably one of my favorite places in the whole world, quite frankly. It's beautiful. The people are amazing. The food's incredible. I've got nothing but good stuff to say about Central and South
Yeah,
America.
I'm headed to Costa Rica in March to go.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, go on a
Yeah.
little surf trip. But
Yeah. Which coast?
I'm going on the West Coast.
Okay.
My
That's
buddy,
very
my
cool,
buddy
man.
was just telling me I didn't realize the East Coast has good surf.
Mm.
He said, but
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I was when we went there. I think Tamarindo sounds
yeah,
familiar.
we're going near there.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right. Let's try. It's been a long time ago. I don't know how that just popped into my head, but yeah, you'll have a blast, man.
yeah,
Pura vida, you know.
yeah. Did you go for work or for play?
That was for work.
Oh,
Yes, I've never been there for play. That actually was, and not work like anything, cool. That work trip was when I first got in and we went to like language school
uh-huh.
or whatnot. That was where our immersion took place. So if you were doing the Spanish course, you went down and lived with a family for however many weeks it was down there in Costa Rica and did the immersion down there.
That's pretty cool. Did you know Castro when you were there?
Yeah, oh, he was in we went through buds together.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yep,
That's
yep,
incredible.
same
So,
buds class.
so then which one of you started CrossFit first?
He did, and
Okay.
he made me aware of it and brought it to my attention.
Um, which one of you was better?
In buds, I could never catch him on a run. Dude can run.
Can he? You know what? He doesn't. I've had him on the show. There's a guy that I had the wrong perception of, and then I had him
Oh,
on
really?
I had him on the show, and I was like, I think I could be best friends with this guy. Um, like I had such a bad perception of him, and I could not believe. And I did one of these things where when he came on the show, I was like, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to try to like put away any ego I have and just be,
Right.
and 2 minutes in, I'm like, I fucking love this guy.
That's awesome.
and, and it all made sense then. Every decision he's ever made or done, I was like, oh, I get it. It all, I was like, oh, I understand his position now and what he has to deal with and why he does these things. So, that's one of those things where I think a lot of people, not underrated, but they, people have a poor perception of them. And not that Dave's not well liked, because I know he is, but I think he's one of those guys that creates controversy. He's on the, there's like, for as many people,
polarizing.
Polarizing is probably the best word to use. And I think I do the same kind of thing to people. And a lot of times I'm upset because I'm like, people don't get it. They don't get what I'm doing. And,
but there's a big difference between seeing somebody on social media or in a YouTube video or, and just actually having a conversation with them. There's a world of difference, and most people don't, one YouTube video or one 30-second Instagram clip or one whatever without context, without backstory, without, what happened last week, last month, 6 months ago, like this one snapshot in time.
Yep.
That's a rough way to try to get to know somebody.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll go on a podcast and I'll do a comedy podcast, like something like Rogan. And then afterwards I'll make the mistake of reading the comments.
Oh,
and
sure.
Every comment will be like, this guy's an asshole. This guy's full of shit. This guy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what did I do to these people that they want to? And then I'll go and
the question is, have you ever had that sort of negative feedback to that quantity in real life, face-to-face conversation?
No.
Not by a long shot.
No, it's hard. People don't understand how hard it is to deal with that. But then I'll go on another podcast and I'll be like, I was the same person.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, this guy's great. This guy's, and I'm like, why?
It's a mystery.
It really is. And so I've learned, don't read the comments or take them with a grain of salt.
Yes. Yep. You got to have, if you're going to live some portion of your life publicly on the internet, if you don't have thick skin, you'll either have to develop it or you're going to have some sort of depressive disorder.
Yeah. So let me ask you, where'd you grow up?
Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Nowhere town in Massachusetts for about 21 years.
What town?
It's called Hanson.
Where is Hanson?
It's like 45 minutes outside of Boston. I mean, just a little nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing town.
And then you went to college?
Went to college in Massachusetts, and then post college went in the Navy.
Yeah, I was because you're an officer. Did you go into the Navy wanting to do buds and seals, or did you just
Yeah, that was the only thing that I wanted to do. It
yeah?
was, I was terrified that if I didn't make it and it would stick me on a ship, then I'd probably just have to, jump off in the middle of the night and drown myself. I mean, it was yeah, that's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else in the military.
That's hysterical that you say that because I had an interest in it, and I was running track in college and was going to drop out and go join the military because I was just bored, and I just didn't. I didn't see that like the path of being, a businessman or a lawyer or whatever. None of that seemed appealing to me, and I just wanted adventure, and I didn't know how to get it. And I was like, okay, I'll go to the military, and if I'm going to do it, I want to go like Navy and go Navy SEALs type. And I had a cousin, I think he ran Little Creek, Robert Smith.
Okay.
And he was a SEAL for years, and I was like, hey, I want to do this, and he was like, okay. What's your eyesight? And I was like, awful. Right. He was like, okay, you're not doing it. And I was like, well, I wear contact lenses. He goes, yeah, it's not happening. And this is
appreciate your interest.
This is pre-LASIK. And I said, but I just met with the recruiters and they told me, he goes, they'll tell you anything. He's like, they're going to stick you on a ship, dude. You're going to be on a submarine at the bottom of an ocean.
I think you avoided something potentially very unpleasant.
Yeah. So he quickly talked me out of it because I was very into fitness then and was like, I can do this and I can do. We had a guy on our beach patrol that went and tried out. He was like the best on our beach patrol, and he got I was an ocean lifeguard, and he got just kicked out of buds in like 3 days.
It's interesting. Well, before we get to that, what was your track event?
110-meter high hurdles.
Oh, good for you. That's athletic. Buds is interesting because then you could have studs, Division One athlete studs with 10-pack abdominals and look like just anatomy and physiology posters. And they don't make it. And then you got some kid that has a 10-pound beer belly, from the middle of nowhere, but he's so darn tough that you would have to shoot him in the head to get him to quit. And he's there on graduation day. It's an interesting place. Athletic prowess certainly helps. So, you would rather go there in better shape than in worse shape, but that's just a fraction of
that's what my cousin,
how it shakes out.
That's what my cousin told me. He said it's the mental toughness, and it's
he
said because no matter how good you are, he said, we'll break you.
Without a doubt. They're gonna find something to make you question the very reason that you're there, and when you're in that moment, your beautiful abdominals will not help you. Not that
it's similar or any way comparable, but the Kokoro camp.
Heard of it? Yeah.
My buddy Hunter McIntyre went. Hunter. Everybody knows Hunter from his CrossFit games. Hunter went there, and Hunter, when it comes to like VO2 max, there's no one out there that's got like the guy's a freak of nature. The fact that he can run sub 5-minute miles, weighing 215 pounds. Like he's a freak in that way. He went to Kokoro and they made him cry his eyes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, not to go down a rabbit hole somewhere else, but I'll get questions about that every now and then from folks that I don't know if they want to go in special operations or just whatever it happens to be of mental toughness, or like we were talking about with our kids, the ability to grind and to have grit and suffer, really.
Yeah.
And I just try to tell people, like, a second workout of the day is not going to do it. Like, you're not tough because you did a second workout, and the second workout doesn't make you tough. And I don't know exactly what does, but I know it's not the second workout. It would be exposing yourself to some sort of circumstance that gets you way outside your comfort zone and is adverse. And I actually think, getting back to Chris Smith, he kind of mentioned it as well when he was chatting with you, because I listened to some of that podcast where he says he shows up to some of these adventure races basically undertrained and just sucks it up, and it's horrific.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get through that because of what you have between the ears. Like that's going to test you, and that's going to make you dig deep, and that's going to make you figure out whether you want to be there or not. And can you suffer and grind like that dude can suffer and grind? And
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of people that beat him at the gym,
Yeah.
but then would show up to a real challenge and quit so quick it'd be unbelievable. So, the two are physical fitness is without a doubt certainly helpful in that arena, but the two are not synonymous.
Have you ever read Angela Duckworth's book, Grit?
No.
It's a great book. But she talks about, I think it was not the Navy, maybe it was the Army, at West Point. She basically goes and does a psychological exam on the kids before, like as they enter the school, and then she can kind of predict who's going to make it to graduation. And she studies grit and what makes, people have that. And, I talk about this a lot with SEALs because I think it's comparable in a way to CrossFit, because I always joke that CrossFit is standing in a box and suffering, like you're in this like little square area. And, if all elements are the same or all physical capabilities are the same, it's who can suffer the longest. And I always joke that there's a lot of religious people in CrossFit that do really well. And I think it's because they attribute it to like Jesus suffering on the cross, and they
interesting.
They do the faith-based thing. And whenever I see a CrossFitter and they're like, oh, he's, very faith-based, I'm like, watch out for this dude.
Right. Yeah. He's going to grind.
He's going to be able to push it to a level you're not going to be able to do. You put you crown of thorns on this guy's head and stick it like he's ready for this mentally. So she talks a lot about that and how to develop grit in your children. And, it's something I try constantly, and I've got to fight my wife on it, because my wife's the opposite. My wife just wants them to have it as easy as possible. And I'm like, no. My kid fell down. I was taking him in to drop off today, and we're walking into the school, and there's a mother coming out, and my kid goes running ahead and then just falls right on his face. And she's like, oh my God. And I give her like a, don't. And I didn't say a word.
Right.
And I just went, get up, like there was no, like, you're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to. And I just went, get up. And I know she looked at me like, oh my God, somebody call, child support services on this guy.
But there is something to that with kids, especially, that if you make a big deal out of it, it will become a big deal. And if you don't make a big deal out of it, they'll just be like, oh, I fell.
Yeah.
I guess I'm okay. I'm going to get up.
Yeah. I mean, my kid falls so much, we want him to wear a helmet all the time. Like he just,
it's funny. You would think that's how I am in our household, like the one who's always, suck it up. But it's actually quite the opposite, to be honest with you. I think my wife is the
tougher one,
harsh one, and I'm the good cop.
But your wife is also a very tough. Your wife's a former CrossFit Games athlete.
Yeah, and she was a full ride like Division I gymnast, which obviously with all the stuff coming about gymnasts, they don't treat those people very well. So
no,
it's a harsh environment. Like you play hurt, you play injured, nobody cares.
Yeah.
So do what you have to do.
It's funny.
7-year-old girl.
It's funny you say that, because my daughter goes to gymnastics now, and I watch them, and I watch the coaches, and there is this stoic kind of, I'm used to like football and where the coach is like, hustle, get back in there, and you're complaining, and the coach is like, get off the field, you pussy, right. But I realize gymnastics is that for women, I mean, and the men too, but there is this real toughness.
I mean, and I guess it's not a big money driver like football, so it doesn't get the ad revenue and the salaries and all that. But if you want to talk about what the athletes are actually doing with their body, there's few things that are even comparable to what you see a gymnast do. It looks like something out of a movie with like CGI. Like, how are you doing that? And it's obviously, I can't run and catch a football thrown 50 yards down the field. So I'm not trying to say that, but that's not even in the same ballpark as some floor routine from Simone Biles.
I completely agree. And we've had a couple gymnasts on the show. I mean, Vellner, I've said that I feel like gymnastics doesn't get the respect in the United States that it deserves. And the reason, my theory on this is the white pants and the
uniforms
and the little dee at the end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
stop telling the dudes to point their legs and do the little, like, because it makes it effeminate. And they're wearing their little white jockey pants, and they, let them wear shorts and a cutoff t-shirt, and let them like that's why parkour and all these other aspects are becoming popular, because they're not wearing this little singlet and doing this little weird little dance at the end and
They
pointing
got
their
to do
toes.
something to save the sport. I mean, because I think college gymnastics programs are starting to go away little by little, and a shame is like college wrestling programs are fading away left and right, because again, they're just not the money drivers that basketball,
Yeah.
football,
Yeah.
and baseball are. I mean, you talked about grit. We've talked about grit a couple times in the whole buds situation. They've obviously spent a lot of money every now and then trying to identify, like with that woman you mentioned from West Point, like, hey, if we can identify the markers in an individual that would lead them to a higher success rate, well, then we can have less people go through the program. That's less money spent or wasted, like everything about it, because the success rate's so low as it is. Like, if we can improve that, great. And so they used to do all these markers to try to figure out, like, what are the characteristics, or what's the background, or what did you do when you were younger, and who graduated. And they couldn't find any commonalities in any way, shape, or form, except for there was an overwhelmingly high number of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it's like, I could totally see that. I mean, wrestling is one of those sports where, our kids wrestled for a while. You're basically fighting another human being for multiple 3-minute rounds. And it is, I mean, you're going to war. And then whether you win or lose, since it's not a team sport, you can't blame the quarterback. Your offensive line didn't, like, you lost. You did because you were not good enough, or you won because you were. Like, somebody who's spent their life wrestling, they got some of that grit that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's funny. My nephew doesn't have much athletic skill. He's a bigger kid. He weighs like 215. He's like 6'2", and he's 15 years old. And he just has no interest in sports altogether. But I told him, like, yeah, you gotta do sports. And I have him doing like Wendler cycles, and he's getting strong. And I have him doing some like running, like trying to just get him some, not speed, but endurance and kind of stamina right now. And then I'm going to work on speed with him. But I said, you need to join the wrestling team. He was like, why? I'm like, you need to get in there, especially as big as he is. I go, you're going to get your ass kicked, but you're going to get better, and you're going to get better, and you're going to get better. And then he likes martial arts. I said, you're going to be able to use that wrestling in, like, even if you get into jiu-jitsu, it's going to help you in jiu-jitsu.
100%. Just that body awareness. Yeah. I mean, there's something interesting about wrestlers. If you're horsing around and, let's say you weigh 170 and you grab another person who's 170 and you're both equal knuckleheads and you're just horsing around, that's one thing. And you grab a wrestler that weighs 170 and he feels like he weighs 300 pounds and you can't move him. Like, even though the body weight is exactly the same, like, wrestlers are no joke.
Do you have a wrestling background?
No, it wasn't even offered at my school. I don't know if I would have done it if it was, but it's just my personal observations from some of the guys that I went through training with, and then like see my boys go through it for a while, and it's always had my undivided attention and respect, because it's almost like, it just seems archaic, but in a good way. I mean that as a compliment, compared to so many other sports these days. Like, there's no flash.
Yeah.
There's, it's just grit, period.
I kind of regret not doing it, but I don't like rolling around. I have friends, so many friends that do jiu-jitsu, and they're like, you got to come with me. I'm like, I just don't want to roll around with other dudes. It's just like,
everyone's into jiu-jitsu these days, man.
It's just so, I don't like touching other men. I don't like the sweat.
I'm not into jiu-jitsu either. I think I'm one of the few that hasn't picked it up yet either.
I wouldn't mind doing Muay Thai or something. I don't want to get kicked in the head too many times, but
right. Understandable.
But I wouldn't mind learning the skills of it. I really don't like. And one of my neighbors is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's always trying to get me to go. And he explains it, and it sounds like really fun and everything. But I just don't want. I don't want to do the training. I just don't want to. I wish I could learn all the skills without having to do it. Like
Matrix, man. Just plug into the Matrix and get all this
I would
skills.
love that. I would love that. Okay, I don't know if you heard me talking about my bad back in the beginning of the episode, but I had this crazy bad back, and I do anything to try to figure out how to fix it. And I started off theragunning. I did a little bit of foam rolling. I did a little bit of lacrosse ball. I tried some different pelvic tilt exercise or pelvic rotation. I was trying nothing was working. So I started using my Myopucks and also CBD oil. I never was a real buyer in the CBD business. And then I came upon CBD MD and did my research. And you know me, I love when something has clinical evidence and is proven to work. And that's what I found here with CBD MD. I looked at all the different CBD oils and tinctures and things out there, and I did a deduction. And to me, it seems like CBD MD is better than all the competition. So it's the cream of the crop. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So I started using it. I think it's what helped my back. I mean, I think the combination of the two, the Myopucks and this, really, really fixed a bad, I was in agony. I couldn't sit in my car. I couldn't drive. I was just in so much pain. So I go with CBD from CBD MD because they're committed to providing you with the high quality CBD oil products that are going to help you reach your goals. There's so many different things that they provide, whether you're training for the games or trying to set new PRs, they've got it. Everyone in Annie Thor's daughter, I believe, is using it. Justin Medeiros is using it. I think, you don't have to be a top level games athlete to use this stuff. You can be a weekend warrior like I am. And this stuff's going to keep you still working out, still performing, and out of pain. And it's got all kinds of tinctures and topicals. And, I use the topical, and I wanted to try the sleep one, but they've got bath bombs that I just gave to my wife. My wife loves the bath bombs, and they've even got pet products. So, I mean, like, you're looking at the top dog in the business here is CBDMD. And we want to make it easier for you to discover the potential of CBD for yourself. So go to CBDMD. They're offering WODcast listeners 30% off your purchase when you use the promo code WOD at checkout. That's WOD, W-O-D, 30% off your purchase. Go to CBDMD.com. That's CBDMD.com. Do your research like I did. You'll find out these guys are the best. You're going to get, with the code WOD, you're going to get 30% off your order. I will be using this on a lot more. Now that my back is feeling better, time to get to those elbows. I will be rubbing this stuff on my elbows daily. So I think you should check this out. Again, CBDMD.com. Go to WOD, or use WOD as the promo, and you're going to get 30% off. Do it now. I have a weird SEALs CrossFit question for you that maybe you can answer. Do you think, like, I'm just always amazed by the amount of information that is funneled through CrossFit when it comes to physical fitness. Like, it's like, looking at my background of track, how so much of the good aspects of track, like the speed, the plyometric work, I've seen it all in CrossFit, almost all of it. There's some stuff, like my hurdle drills aren't going on in CrossFit, but like a lot of speed work, everything, I've seen it all come in there. So it seems like CrossFit's kind of deduced what works in everything and kind of pulled it in. That was the whole idea of it. Then you've got something like the Navy and the SEAL program, which is the elite of the elite. And it's about making these like physically fit individuals that are fighting machines and have all the resources in the world because of the amount of money coming through the Navy. Which would you say you saw? I would assume that CrossFit has just a bigger bank of wealth of knowledge coming through it than the SEALs, because SEALs would be more like technical and tactical and stuff like that. But which one? I mean, was it comparable, or were you like, wow, these guys?
Are you talking both communities, just which should I learn more about physical fitness from?
Yeah.
Oh, without a question, CrossFit.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's now been quite some time since I was in the military, and I think they have come leaps and bounds with their, athletic department, the trainers that they have. Back when I was in, I went to Buzz in the 90s, I mean, so CrossFit Journal wasn't even live, and it just didn't exist. So it was all antiquated training these days. Long, slow distance, everything was the more the better. If 1 hour is good, 2 hours is better. So let's swim 2 hours instead of 1 hour. Whereas short and intense, nobody did short and intense.
Right.
It was the endurance athletes ruled the day. So the longer that you could go, didn't matter that you were slow and low power, it didn't matter. And then everything in the gym, back then anyway, was largely what I did in high school, body part splits, chest and tri on Monday and Thursday, back and bi on Tuesday and Friday, legs and abs, sprinkling some cardio, no compound movements. Nobody deadlifted.
Right.
Nobody back squatted. You did the leg press, you did the leg extension, you did the leg curl, and then some calf machine. Nobody did front squat. Nobody was doing an overhead squat or any sort of Olympic lift. That's for darn sure. Nobody was doing rings. Nobody's trying to walk on their hands. Like, nobody's doing anything complex. It was largely single joint, machine based. And now, knowing what I know now, movements that didn't really serve us that well out in the field. So it's staggering that everyone did as well in the field as they did. And maybe that just was from the grit that just sucked it up. It would have been so nice to actually train in a way that would have made a difficult job less difficult. Would have been fantastic. So without a doubt, CrossFit, people don't believe me when I say this, but back then, in my early 20s on active duty, I was working out 2 hours a day and in whatever shape that I was in. And now these days, I'm 46 and I work out 15 to 45 minutes a day, and I'm in far better shape with 20 more years on my body.
Yeah, interesting.
Than I was back then. And I spend a fraction of the time. And people think that I'm lying. We got no reason to lie. But it's just the bang for your buck that you get in some of the stuff that CrossFit has figured out it's pretty insane, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's funny when I listen to all these experts that are outside of the world of CrossFit, and I hear them and they'll be saying something in whatever show they're on, podcast or whatever, and they're going, and whoever's talking is like, oh my God, that's so interesting. Wow, you guys have and I'm like, we've known that in CrossFit for 10 years, like what you didn't.
And I mean, there's some interesting stuff, because coming from that background where we just ran all the time, every day, and did everything, long. I remember first looking at the CrossFit.com workout or any CrossFit workout, there wasn't running that frequently. Maybe you'd have some 400 meters in Helen or something like that, but then you might not run for 4 days in a row, and then run a 5K for time would only come up once every 3 months or something like that. So when I looked at that, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm going to fall out of shape. I'm going to lose all my endurance. And obviously that did not occur. And now I know why it didn't occur. But back then I didn't know why. And so I thought it would be ineffective and it wasn't enough and all the classic stuff that people say all the time. But yeah, I think the teams have come leaps and bounds with their physical training. As a matter of fact, I know for sure they have, because they have some amazing folks like Josh Everett and Stefan Roche and some other trainers are CrossFitters helping them, at the bases. So they got good stuff going on
now. What was you did the games, didn't you, one time? Were you in
2009? Yeah, 2009.
How'd you finish?
Ooh, I mean, not well. I was probably, I would probably be lucky if I finished middle of the pack. I don't, certainly was not better than that. I can tell you that.
Did Miko win it that year?
In 2009?
Or James Fitzgerald? No.
I don't remember. I want to say that it was Miko.
I think it was Miko.
I think it was Miko because we had the long run, we had the deadlift ladder, and Miko captured everyone's attention because he did so well on the run and then so well on the deadlift ladder. And those are supposed to be very polar
Yep.
opposite capacities. And so if you're really good at running long, you shouldn't be super strong, back then supposedly. And people were like, wow, like he was like top five in both. And so yeah, I think it was probably that. But
And how long had you been doing it for at that point?
I started in '05, so it was four
Wow.
years by that point, but not training. I don't know, just never did more than one workout a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well, nobody did back then.
no, but and so doing like multiple workouts in one day, I was like, this is terrible. Uh, and yeah, so I just got lucky, quite frankly. There was the Mid Atlantic qualifier that year in 2009 out in Virginia Beach, and I got lucky somehow and snagged the last spot. It was down to me and a couple of the guys, and the last workout just went my way. Could have easily just gone somebody else's way. And I snuck in. Ben Smith was there that year, and I harassed Ben Smith to this day because I beat him in the 2009 games. And so,
You beat
and
the
then it
fittest man in
never,
the world.
and then nothing ever again in the history of CrossFit did I beat Ben Smith at.
You beat the fittest man in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, no big deal.
Yeah,
No
no
big
big
deal.
deal. That's
I
like
think what
we
saved me was that there was a long run.
have a funny story about Armin, who used to co-host the show with me, Armin Hammer, Armin Amirian. He was working out one day at CrossFit CrossFit Santa Monica, and Graham Holmberg came in to he was in town and just needed a workout. And Graham was probably, like doing some kind of easy day, and was
Right.
not going 100%, but Armin was. Armin looked at Graham like it was the CrossFit Games.
Right.
And Graham, I think, was doing it RX plus or something, and Armin was probably scaling it, but did that thing where he looked across the gym and thought, I'm gonna show you, Graham Holmberg, how my scaled version of this, I will beat you. And Armin beat him, and I think he dropped the weights and yelled, "Take that."
Fantastic. I'm sure Graham was like, thank you for that. That's what I needed in my training session.
And I go, Armin, there was this soccer mom that used to work out with me at my gym, and I go, she used to do the same shit to me.
Everyone's get their person, they just get their eyes on every now
Yeah,
and then.
yeah. There's always somebody across the gym that you see is racing you, and I used to hate that because I was like, don't let my ego get in this. Don't let my ego get in it. And
Yes. Oh yeah, the old ego.
oh yeah, my buddy did a show called Me Ego No Amigo.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah, yeah. So that was 2000. That's when I started CrossFit, 2009.
Okay.
So
It's been a long time.
yeah, I've realized, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, you're in better shape. I don't know if I am. I don't know. The children thing made it really hard.
Oh, I'm not in the best CrossFit shape of my life. Don't get that sideways, But from my pre-CrossFit long, slow distance,
Yeah.
Concentration curls day, working out for 2.5 hours, it's amazing. 2.5 hours of that doesn't compare to just 40 minutes in the garage these days.
Oh, I wish I could go back and do aspects of CrossFit when I was running track.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot I've learned, especially talking to Ryan Flaherty from Nike. His whole thing about hex bar deadlifts and speed. And I just didn't realize that you can make I pretty much just thought, oh, my speed is my speed. This is what I was naturally born with. And I didn't know that you can actually,
right.
Once I learned all the technique to running well, and I was like, okay, I can't improve I've reached my limit. I can improve my technique of hurdles, but I can't become a faster person. And now I know that's false.
Mm-hmm.
And that you do have the ability to getting way faster.
There's so many things I wish that I knew. Again, ignorance was bliss,
I'm jealous of kids growing up now with having the internet and having access to all this material. And when they don't do it, I'm pissed off. I'm like, do you know what we would have given for this?
Well, and some of them just don't know any other world. So depending on how old they are, what environment they grew up in, they're like, well, of course you would do cleans. Why wouldn't you do cleans? And of course you would do. And like, that's not how it used to be. That you didn't see anybody in the gym doing hang squat cleans or something like that. You would have been like, what is that person doing? They're going to hurt themselves. And this, thrusters, I mean, wall balls, and it's interesting how much the fitness landscape has changed. And now so many things are just considered, well, that's just how you do it. And if you're going to shoot a fitness commercial, you ought to be swinging a kettlebell at least, right? I mean, it's funny how the world has changed.
You moved from Virginia to Washington. What was that about? Why?
Got married. So I went from Massachusetts to Virginia to Colorado to California to Washington State. And the trip to Washington State was when I met my wife and we started getting serious. She's up here, she's got 50-50 custody with her kids, and their dad's up here. So she does not have the opportunity to move.
Right.
She's like, well, if we're going to do this, it's going to be in Washington State. So while that wasn't where I would have probably chosen to settle down, just talking just pure geography, it was the right call for those other reasons.
Yeah, I understand that then. Where's your gym? Where's Lynchpin?
It's my garage.
Oh, really?
Garage affiliate. Yep, garage affiliate since 2014. It's always been a garage,
and so you program. Yeah, I saw all your stuff on Instagram of your programming and everything, and people talk about it. What is do you have people come and train at your gym at all?
I only usually no. I mean, there's a short answer is no, and it all started with just I always loved to program and always put workouts out on social media, and people enjoy doing them. And back in 2014, it wasn't my idea. Some friends were like, "Why don't you just affiliate your garage, man? And you're gonna be posting doing these workouts anyway. Like, make it official." And I was like, "That's a good idea." And you're like, you never know what you might do one day, and blah blah blah.
But do you?
So that just started that.
When you write that check every year for that affiliate fee, are you like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right,
like my donation to CrossFit, like
for the bestowing of the knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, but you have the knowledge. You're still going to acquire the knowledge. You still work with CrossFit. That affiliate fee, you're basically donating money to CrossFit.
True. Yeah.
But you're also grandfathered in that you're probably paying what, $1,000 a year.
Right. It's very, very nominal.
Yeah.
But yes, part of the you can do it above board, you can do it below board.
Right.
And I wouldn't.
I've thought about doing.
Feel good about myself. I did it below board.
I've thought about it. I've got a gym in my house and in my garage, and I have no time to, like, my buddy owns CrossFit Malibu, and I go down there once in a while, but I just have no time to break away ever. Because I'm always on the road. I'm like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm on the road. And then I come home like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I have to spend time with the kids as much as I can. And I've always thought it just to be funny to affiliate my garage. And then, because I do have neighbors that come over and work out with me every once in a while, and be like, sorry, you're going to have to pay a fee now.
I was going to say, just, chop up that fee to how many months. And as long as they make a donation, you're covered by the end of the year, you're good to go.
But then I'd have to go to a seminar. As long as I've been doing this and been around, I still have 0 certification.
It was what they always said. It's just, you want to get fit in your garage for the rest of your life? Good to go. Totally good to go. I mean, you're exactly living it, man. You're nailed it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to take much more of your time, but I feel like we could make this like a 7-parter. Like we just went through the early part. I was interested. Your athletic background, though, what was it?
That's non-existent. I ran track in high school, but it's just something that I did. I was not talented at it, and that's it. And then once I got into college, all I did was train for buds in college. So I didn't do any other sports. I mean, I trained 2 or 3 hours a day.
Did you know you had this like eye of the tiger type thing where you could sustain pain and grit and adversity?
No, as you know, I had the risk of quitting or washing out just like everybody else. And I didn't grow up in some rough area that, fostered a whole bunch of ability to deal with adversity. I had a great childhood, no complaints, no nothing. And so yeah, failing was a very, very real possibility that absolutely just frightened me to death, quite frankly. And I didn't know if I would or not. I didn't want to let myself down, let other people down. But I didn't just want to do it. And I think maybe that is what it is. I think if you just want to do it, it's not going to go well for you.
Mm-hmm.
It was like an all encompassing obsession to an almost clinical disorder level.
Mm.
Like it where I would be willing to sacrifice anything else in my life to do it. Like it was, like I said, it was not balanced in that regard. And so I think if I had anything going for me, maybe it was that. It wasn't just something I casually thought might be cool. It is, I had built it up in my mind to that level. And maybe that, if anything else, helped me get through. And
Sounds like it did. Did
I
you?
guess so. And, I don't have a big military family or anything like that. My grandfather was in the military, he was a World War II vet on a ship in the Navy. And, his ship like got kamikaze and sank and all that good stuff. He survived. But I just couldn't imagine, like I think of him every now and then when I was out training, like a particularly terrible day out there on the beach in Coronado. And I just couldn't imagine like quitting on a sunny beach in Coronado, no matter how bad it was. You're still in peacetime, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to kill you. No matter how terrible they make it, they're not going to kill you. And then meeting like my grandfather, who was actually in like World War II and abandoned ship. And I was like, well, it was just too hard, so I quit. And,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that you had, but it was so, I was really cold, Graham. I was really cold. I said, like, I don't know how the conversation, he would be fine with it. He would never hold against it. But in my mind, I'm like, I can't have that conversation with him. How's that even going to go? I'm going to sound like an idiot.
Was there ever a moment though that you said like you were close? That
Sure.
you went
Oh yeah, sure. I don't think anybody who says they didn't is
psychotic?
lying
Yeah.
or potentially psychotic.
Yeah.
The Yeah, I had a couple of those. Um the one I remember one specifically, I think it was like Monday morning or Tuesday morning in Hell Week. We were doing some ridiculous jackassery where they're just beating us, like bear crawls or crab walks or tire drags and in the water and ocean. Anyway, I can't remember. It was a combination of that. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. And they were doing it to just, I mean, they don't have any concept of time. They have nothing to do. It's
Yeah.
1 a.m.
Yeah.
Breakfast is at 7. So we got 6. And we'll just do this for 6 hours. We'll just wait until
Ugh.
they might have in their head, we're just going to do this until 7 people quit. We don't care who they are. And then we'll move on to something else. And whatever it was, I remember thinking to myself, if Hell Week is 5 days of what we're doing right now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like this is going to break me. And luckily, like so many other things, you just, all those cliche things that they say all the time are true to some degree, where you just think to the next day. And if the next day is too far away, think to the next meal. If the next meal's too far away, think to 10 yards down the beach. Can I crab walk another 5 meters down the beach? Then I'll reassess. Can I make it another 5 meters and reassess? And if you do that 200 times, then that darn evolution might actually be over. And that was probably one of the lowest of the lows. That, again, through the grace of God, that evolution ended before my will broke. And then something happened, I think the next day at breakfast. It was Wednesday morning at breakfast, maybe that morning at breakfast, maybe Tuesday morning at breakfast. Maybe it was Tuesday, because I had that terrible thing Tuesday morning out on the beach. But I kind of made some internal decision that I said to myself, okay, like I'm committed. Like if I don't make it through training, it will be because I died on the beach or blacked out underwater, but it won't be because I quit. Like that, I break my leg, like something like that might happen, but I will not raise my hand and say, yeah, I'm done. So I don't know. Could have just been lucky.
Yeah. Mark Devine said on the show, early on, we had him as a guest. He said something like those small little goals. You just keep,
Absolutely.
you just got to bite off the little goal at a time. Like when I've done like long running races, I've had to go, okay, we're going to break this up into like 15 little races,
Yep.
and I'm just going to do each little race, and then I'll deal with the next race after this. I guess, you can't, but you mentioned something else that made me laugh, because I remember Zach Forrest tell me one time we were at dinner, and I said, what's your? I mean, Zach's an incredible athlete and
Oh yeah.
and a physical. I mean, he's just incredible, like disciplined, physical fitness wise. But he said, a lot of guys I've learned, a lot of SEALs that I've talked to always say, you want to be middle of the pack. You don't want to be in the front. You don't want to be in the back. You want to be in the middle. And Zach said that during the underwater swim where you got to do the like 50 meters underwater or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He goes, they said you either make it or you die trying. And or like you quit. And Zach's like, I never quit. I would just pass out. He goes, I wouldn't make it.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, he's like,
okay. If you black out underwater during that swim, they'll pull you out, revive. I mean, it happened in our class. They'll pull you out, revive you, and then you'll get another go of it. But if you come up to the surface because it was too hard, you're done.
That I think epitomizes the mentality of you people that differentiates you from the rest of the world. I don't think there's many people out there that could push to blackout. And I think it's like we used to joke on this show that I think Jackie Armin was such a nerd. One year he put together all the CrossFitters and all their best times in events and tried to like figure out if there's one event that corresponds with how they finish at the games. And I think it was Jackie was their Jackie time, which I think was a weird event. Like I would think that's more of like an endurance
workout,
time.
But I wouldn't have guessed that one.
Me neither. And so he said it was really weird how closely it correlated. And I said, well, that's weird. Why even do the CrossFit Games? Why not just do Jackie? And you go, this proves we've deduced through all this work, through this mathematical evaluation, that this proves who the fittest person, man and woman in the world are, but just by how they finish in this event. Because let's face it, the CrossFit Games is already a series of like, arbitrarily chosen number of events over a number of days. It's not 10 days. It's 5 days. It's not 100.
It's a man-made event.
Right. So why not, just put it down to this one event that we know scientifically proves who the fittest person in the world is. And that would be great because then you could build up this event and make it like, you've only got to watch this for 5 minutes and we're going to know.
If the data pointed to that event, that'd be pretty
interesting. So wouldn't it be pretty interesting to do that with the SEALs? Like basically, no, if you can do this, you can make it. If you can't do this, you're never going to make it. And if you're the kind of guy that can black out.
Yeah, it's funny, and I could say I know that people need to do that job, and it made me who I am. I'm profoundly proud of it, all that good stuff. But I'm also so glad that my boys don't want to do it.
Yeah, interesting you say that. There's so many things I originally wanted my kids to be. I love action sports, love it, and watch all of them. And I just see, and my kids like to skate and surf and do all the stuff, ski. But I see so many of the guys I know getting hurt so badly, career-ending death, a ton of death. And I just go, oh, I don't want my kids to be that good. Like I don't want them to excel at that sport.
Everything comes at a cost too, as well. It's I'll leave you with a funny story. So it probably means I'm a bad parent, but one of our boys was playing Call of Duty, and he walks in, and I don't even think about it. I say something every now and then from my old line of work that my wife will be like, "Don't say that. Why did you say that?" And he walks in, and he's like,
"Are you like take the headshot?"
Yeah, he's my stepson, so he calls me Pat. He's like, "Pat," he's like, "I'm in my game." He's like, "And there's some phase where you have to stop a car that's coming." He's like, "Do you shoot the engine or do you shoot the wheel?" I was like, "Don't ever let anybody tell you that, buddy. You shoot the driver every time." And my wife's like, "Why would you say that?" I was like, "What? I don't want to lead the young man astray."
That's a little bit of information that I just put in my head. Like, you never know when I might be in this like action movie type scenario where I now know, go for the head, go for the driver, get that driver. And the world we live in, who knows?
Oh, geez. Yeah, right.
So I'm glad I got that. I love talking to you. I wish we could do 7 hours of this because there's so much I want to get into with your commentating of the games and maybe
I'll have to circle back.
are you going to be commentating again? Are you done? Are you
TBD,
yeah.
TBD, and none of that stuff is I think released yet. So I'll leave it
Okay.
as a
Well,
TBD.
if you, I would love to talk to you because I'd love your insight on it all, and I love watching you on there. I can't believe you haven't been on this show earlier. It's really weird.
I appreciate you having me.
I'll blame Armin for that. Since he's been gone. Now
Fair enough.
but thanks for doing the show. And Linchpin, they can find all your program. Do you do like a programming like people can join and sign up for your programming?
Yeah, and what like so many things like it wasn't my idea. I can't take credit for it. It was requested from the community. So I post a workout every day on CrossFitLynchpin.com or our Instagram page, just totally for free every day. The workout a day, enjoy it, have a blast. And then people started asking for, well, what should I do for a warm up? What's the goal times for this workout? What are some scaling options? What are some demo videos? What should accessory work be today? And so all that stuff became something known as the CrossFit Lynchpin private track. So the workout a day is free. Have a blast. Use it for the rest of your life and enjoy. All that other stuff, which is delivered through Beyond the Whiteboard, that's $10 a month for the private track to be able to get that other stuff. So that's it.
So they find it at CrossFitLynchpin.com.
CrossFitLynchpin.com.
Okay. And then as far as are you still teaching? Are you still traveling with the seminar staff?
No, no traveling for me. Everything is just here from my home, and I'm very happy that I don't have to travel much.
Yeah. I wish I didn't have to. But you were all. What are you, level 4? What are you like? You're high.
Well, that's expired. I was at one time on level 4, but then I let my level 3 expire, so I'm to level 2.
Wow. I didn't know how tough it was to keep it up. Well, thanks for doing the show. I really appreciate it. And everybody check out CrossFitLynchpin.com. And Pat, thank you for doing the show. I appreciate it. And it's always been fun watching you. And you guys know what to do. Rate, review, comment. And that's it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Eddie.